Hi guys, it's Fed and this is my series on V3, the next version of QuestStudio. In the previous episode, we took a look at the plan view, where you can organize your project, you plan it in sections, collections, and nodes. In this video here, I want to introduce you to the create view. So let's go ahead and enter into the create view. You see that actually I clicked here on this node here, and I go directly into the create view, but obviously I can also create on the create tab and get there. This is the title of the node, and indeed it corresponds to the beginning that we have here. And then you can choose between three options. You can choose, when there is an empty node, whether to just start with an empty node, whether to insert a fragment. So start with a fragment, and again, the fragments are collected here. So for example, I could add this fragment here. I can click on insert fragment, pick the fragment, could be a textual fragment or an image fragment or an audio fragment in the future and so on, and click it and create a node starting from there. Or we can also import some content from PDF, for example. So you can load up a PDF. If you have some load, you can create a node about that and so on. In this case, I want to create an empty node. I want to start with an empty node. And here, clicking on an empty node, you have the standard editor, similar to V2. You can start typing and start writing content here. All right, I pasted some content here. You can see where the content is coming from. I added some text, and this is good enough to start showing you some of the feature of the editor. So the first thing I want to show you is that clicking on here, you're going to get some details about this content. So for example, we get the word count, 341 words, and when it was last edited. On the left side panel, you see where you are, and we are under the beginning node. On the opening scene collection, you can see that we are under the section, collection, and node here. So Act 1, opening scene, and the beginning. And now, if I click on details, I'm gonna have a high-level overview of the details of this node here. We have the title, obviously, the number of words when it was last edited, the description, the summary, and references, which are links, backlinks, and subnodes. Now, the description is, as the name implies, a brief description of this node here, and is what you can find here on the node itself when you have a description here. The summary is, again, a brief summary of this node, and you can always update the summary by clicking on the update button when, for example, you change some content. And then you have references. So one thing I want to mention is that this is very useful when you want to have an overview of your project here. You have your node. You can decide whether to see a preview of the description of the summary. I think this is a very useful feature for having kind of an idea of what's going on in the different nodes. Also to remember what the node was about and so on. Okay. Now the references, links and backlinks are the same thing that we have in V2. Links are pointers to other nodes. Backlinks are incoming pointer to the current node. So another node pointing to this one here. And the subnodes is a new thing, a new concept introduced in V3. Subnodes are nodes that are child of the current node. Now, moving on the right side, we have the fragments. We've already seen that. Here we can obviously insert fragment into the text. Can insert images into the text and so on. We have threads, and this is showing as we said in previous videos, the current active thread. We can always choose which thread we want to activate, and we have the nexus. Let's start by looking at some features here in the node. Okay, we can ask AI to help us out by using a command. And in this case, we have the continue writing command, the next, which is continue writing. AI is going to analyze what we have written before, what we wrote before, and it's going to suggest some continuation. So if I click on here, now AI is running, and it's going to propose some content. Okay. So here, AI produced some context. You see that some content. You see that the content is relevant to what came before. It's talking about Dursley and so on. And this can give you some ideas to how to basically continue writing. And you see there are some options. You can either insert, you can try again, or you can remove this content. In this case, I want to remove it because I want to show you something else. If I type / and I select next instruct, this is similar to the next command, so continue writing, but here I can provide some instructions. So here I can say how AI should generate the content. So for example, I can say, make it horror, or use Stephen King writing style. Okay, so for example, I want to change a tone here. I can then give some instructions, and I can click run now. AI is going to produce some content by using the instructions that we gave. Okay, so make it horror, use Stephen King writing style. You see that now it continues writing, but we start changing the tone of what it's producing here. You see the words like their secret clawing at the edge of reality, a sinister presence, hallway. Yeah, so it actually understood the tone here, the prompt. So it made it more horror, and it's trying to use Stephen King writing style. So this is a very cool feature if you want to kind of change the tone of the narrative, of the sentiment, or you want to kind of change the style. You can kind of tell AI how to continue writing the next piece of text. Alrighty, moving on. Let's look at the basic commands. Now we have the choice point and the node. The choice point is something new that we have in V3. Introduces a branching path in your narrative. Let's say that you are at a certain point and you don't know whether to continue with plot point A or to continue describing plot point B. Well, you can introduce a choice point and you can go ahead with both choice 1 and choice 2. You can also add multiple choices here, more choices. When you click on this, you're going to go into the node about choice 1. Click on this, you're going to go into the node for choice 2. You can select the active node, but this gives you a way to basically kind of introduce a branching factor here and go ahead in parallel with both. And then when you're happy with either one, you can select the one that is currently active, and the node is going to basically consider the current active choice as the natural continuation of your node. Okay. The other thing is node. We can embed subnodes inside a node. So I click on this. See that now I have this untitled here. This is a subnode. This is if you want to call it a subpage, the same. It's a child of this node here. I click on here, and I can call it, I don't know, subpage or subnode. So now this node here belongs to the parent node at the beginning. If I go back here, you see that now I have some node. It's similar to a link, as we said before, but this node here only belongs to this node here, to the parent node at the beginning. Okay, and this is another way to kind of structure your narrative. You can dive deep into certain parts of your narrative, and by creating some nodes. Let's remove it now. Okay, so these are all the commands that you have by typing /. We also have commands selecting a certain piece of text and asking AI to help us out. So if I click on Ask AI, we can use describe or rewrite. Now, the describe, if I click on describe, here it's going to produce some description of the selected piece of text, which is this one here, for each of the 5 senses. Okay, so if I run this command, now it's going to process this text. It's going to provide out some descriptions. And you see that now we have a description for the 5 senses: sight, smell, touch, hearing, and taste. And you can copy to clipboard, insert below, or save it as a fragment. So I click on here, for example, and now we go into fragments. You see that I have the taste here with the content of the description that I can use now, or I can save it for later if I like it. I can insert it and so on. So let's go ahead and try the other one, which is rewrite. So I can click on rewrite, And now I can have obviously the selection, and I can give some rewriting instructions. So I can say, make it shorter, for example, and AI is going to process this piece of text here and follow the rewriting instructions. And you see that that was quite fast. It just rewrote the piece of text, but made it shorter. And again, I can copy to clipboard, insert it, or save it as a fragment, right? Cool. Okay, so this is a lot of things in a short amount of time. I think I want to show you something else, and that is the Nexus. So if I click on the Nexus, I'm going to have this view here for the Nexus. Here, the Nexus is going to provide me two things in this pre-release. It is a node analysis, and it is some feedback. Node analysis is going to analyze the content of the node and point out whether there are things that can be improved, or there are things that are good, and so on. And the feedback is going to provide some feedback for you to how to improve your writing, or how to, it's going to give you some ideas based on the analysis of the node. So let's go ahead and run the Nexus. Nexus has a lot of content to process. Okay, it produced some results. And the analysis that it does is about spell checking, sentiment analysis, character development. So it is analyzing the node under different aspects. So for example, let's check spell. And it says the text appears to be free from spelling, punctuation, and style errors. That is good. Indeed, I copy and paste this from a chapter of a book. Sentiment analysis is going to analyze the text and provide some analysis of the general sentiment of the piece of text that the node that it analyzed it. Then we have character development analysis. It's going to analyze the characters. Characters are introduced with vivid descriptions that offer insights into their physical appearance and their personalities. We have pacing analysis. The pacing of the story is well balanced, provide a mix of exposition and character introduction. We have style consistency. We have readability and engagement metrics, thematic analysis, dialogue analysis. All these analyses here are very, very useful for you to understand how your narrative is going. It's going to provide you very useful insights under different aspects, and you can take these insights and take them as a suggestion or see how your writing is going and so on. But it's also going to provide you some feedback here based on this analysis. And you see that here it says, following the mention of the owl, the narrative could explore various unusual events occurring around the Dursleys, for example. And the next section could introduce a pivotal moment that breaks the monotony of the Dursleys' life. And it gives you some very interesting suggestions here of basically what's going on with your piece of text and how to continue next. I think this is very, very powerful. It's very interesting features that basically you have a kind of real-time assistant or writer that checks in with you on the node and performs some analysis and provides some feedback based on the analysis and how to continue next. And then we have threads. Obviously, we already explored those, but I want to show you that we can actually talk to the node. So let's clear the conversation for now. So we clear everything here, and we can leave the word building selected. Now, if you go here and we click on Add to Context, this is going to add the current node into the context of the thread. And you see that the beginning, which is the title of the node, appears here. So for example, I can type something along the lines of actually, let's do something a little bit more tricky. Let's say that we want to ask about this part here. Did the Dursleys know about the Potters having a small son? So now I ask a specific question about this note here. And again, we added the context of the note into the thread. And you see that it responding, yes, the Dursley knew that the Potters had a small son, but they had never even seen him. Let's see if it says that. The Dursleys knew that the Potters had a small son too, but they had never even seen him. And indeed, it's replying with that context in mind. You have a little bit more freedom here to kind of discuss on the content on the note, right? So we can say, for example, how could I continue from the current content, or something along those lines of the note. And yeah, this is actually very good. Okay, perfect. So it understood what we want to do. It understood that we are talking about this node, obviously, because it's added to the context. Then it adds nice separators here and dividers, and it actually gives you the content of the node. Okay, there you go. So very, very interesting. What else? I think that's about it. There is one more thing actually. Let's say that you want to export this node. You can click on the export button, and this is going to download the content into a doc file. There you go. The beginning, the name of that node, docx. Okay, and this has the same content that you find here, so you're free to download it and print it and share it and so on. Last thing I want to mention is that obviously you can choose to minimize the sidebars here, so you have a view that doesn't have too much stuff into it and allows you to focus on what you're typing, on what you're writing. You can switch theme, as we saw in other videos. If you prefer this mode, you can switch between light and dark mode. And I think that's about it for the create view. In the next video, we're gonna go over the review, where you can actually put together nodes and have a full document with the nodes that you select. V3 has a lot of new features, gives you a lot of flexibility. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or you find any bugs, please feel free to reach out into our Discord server. And I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'm gonna see you in the next one.